Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another edition of the Go Bills podcast and countdown to kickoff for the Buffalo Bills and New York Jets game today that will kick off in just a little bit. I'm your host and founder of the page, Brett McDurphy, and I'm glad to be with you to cover week 2 of this game. We do have some interesting news for the Buffalo Bills in terms of their injury report and who is active and who is inactive. So let's get into the inactives and actives for the Buffalo Bills and New York Jets. We'll start with the visiting Buffalo Bills. Their inactives are wide receiver Curtis Samuel, cornerback Taron Johnson, defensive back Jordan Hancock, linebacker Shaq Thompson, tackle Chase Lunt, defensive tackle Ed Oliver, who popped up on the injury report on Wednesday evening and Thursday morning did not practice, and defensive end Landon Jackson. Now for the home team in the New York Jets, they have running back Kene Nwangwu. Hopefully I pronounced that right. That's a little bit of a hard name to pronounce. Inactive here. Also tackle Esa Pole, defensive lineman Jay Tavalele, wide receiver Josh Reynolds, tight end Jelani Woods, and defensive lineman Tyler Barron, all inactive for the New York Jets. Now, this game is going to be taking place at MetLife Stadium, 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. If you're looking for the TV station that it will be on CBS/Paramount Plus. If you're tuning in, it will be Jim Nance, Tony Romo calling the game. And for the records for both teams, the Bills are 1-0 after a 41-40 shootout win over the Baltimore Ravens. The Jets are 0-1 after a narrow loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers 34-32. And this is the first game for both teams in the AFC East for the 2025 season. The Buffalo Bills are favored in this matchup by 6.5 points. The matchup predictor predicts the Bills to win by 65% of the majority votes in this game. That's the probability according to ESPN. I mentioned the injury reports for both teams, but there are some other people that are dealing with some injuries for the Bills that you need to monitor. Defensive end Greg Rousseau will probably be on a snap count today with a knee injury. Tight end Dawson Knox has been dealing with a hip injury too, and that's something to be monitored if he is playing in the game. Running back James Cook has been cleared of his injury and returned to full participation on Thursday. Cornerback Sauce Gardner for the New York Jets has a groin injury, and that could be something that the Bills could exploit today. Tight end Mason Taylor has an ankle injury. We did mention that there's an illness for Jay Tufalele for the Jets on the defensive line. He is out today. Let's get into the quarterbacks in this matchup. Josh Allen and what he did in week 1. 394 yards, 2 touchdowns in week 1. Added his usual off-script magic late in the game. Justin Fields had 218 yards, 1 touchdown on a 72.7% completion rate in his debut. He showed off his legs and his ability to scramble outside of the pocket and find Garrett Wilson, his former college teammate, in the NFL. I see you guys coming in on Facebook. This is John Robert coming into the chat. Go Bills. Absolutely. Also saying that we have a new punter, I believe, that will be wearing jersey number 16. Yes, we do. Cameron Johnston coming over from the Pittsburgh Steelers, our new punter. That's correct, John. Thank you for bringing that up, too. I forgot all about that, as there's been a lot of news that's coming in for the Buffalo Bills this week. Well, let's get into the matchup and what swings it for the Buffalo Bills over the New York Jets. And let's start off with the first one, which is going to be the Bills offensive line versus the Jets pass rush. And this pass rush is one of the best in the NFL in terms of getting to the quarterback. And they did such a good job in week 1 with Jermaine Johnson, Quinnen Williams, and the rest of the unit on the defensive line for the New York Jets. And I think that it comes down to, for Buffalo, having a clean pocket for Josh Allen. And if they are able to do that, it's going to be a big play, but you're going to see blitzes. You're going to see different schemes from Aaron Glenn, and he's probably not going to let Josh Allen sit in the pocket. So Buffalo needs to do a good job of creating a clean pocket for Josh Allen and making sure that he has the ability when he needs to escape the pocket and go to his right if he needs to, because when he goes right, things go right. Just saying. Explosive plays from our playmakers need to happen in this game too. You need to see some big plays from Keon Coleman, who will be matched up against Sauce Gardner. I mentioned earlier, Sauce Gardner has been limited throughout the week with a groin injury, and when New York plays man-to-man coverage, you will see Coleman have to win those one-on-one battles against one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. Last week, Keon had 8 catches for 112 yards, 1 touchdown in week 1, and Buffalo needs to find a way to have some good plays lined up for free access for in terms of slants/glance routes against Sauce Gardner in this game. Also, for Buffalo, this is a game where I mentioned in the injury reports, Ed Oliver is out. We brought up Zion Logue from the practice squad. Buffalo is going to have an interesting matchup in terms of the middle of the defensive line. And we struggled last week against Derrick Henry, and we gave up a ton of yardage in week 1. Now, the Bills will be going up against Breece Hall. He had 19 carries for 170 yards in week 1. And New York leans on a wide zone scheme and a counter moves that are set up by Justin Fields on quarterback keeper routes, which is very similar to what we saw from the Baltimore Ravens in week 1. It's more of that zone read RPO type style game. And this is going to be interesting for Buffalo. They need to force have gap integrity in this game, and they must be clean and be able to have some stops for the Buffalo Bills and make sure that you're wrapping up on tackles in this game. Also, this is going to be a chess match in terms of the red zone. You're going to see Josh Allen utilized and James Cook being utilized too. I think that Josh Allen is going to be utilized in sprint situations where he's going to have to use his legs to get to the goal line. And then you'll see James Cook on some angle screen routes, stuff like that in this game. But it's going to be interesting to watch out for is Dawson Knox on some plays too. I think that they're going to utilize him in this game. So what does Buffalo need to do to win the game and come out of this victorious and take an early advantage in the AFC East? It comes down to, for me, they need to utilize early down RPOs in this game. Such a quick game, get the ball out of Josh Allen's hands quickly to keep the sticks on schedule and build in a few designed quarterback keepers to punish man-to-man coverage that you will see from the New York Jets. They also need to protect the edges against Breece Hall and the running backs of the New York Jets in this game. Also set a hard edge for Justin Fields. You have to keep him contained and in the pocket. He does a good job of rolling out, and he will utilize the scramble drill that you will see with Garrett Wilson, who he has a ton of chemistry with. The X factors in this game are the Bills, Tre'Davious White, going up against Garrett Wilson and the rest of the wide receivers for the Buffalo Bills. I think it's a huge addition having Tre'Davious White back in this game. It's going to be very important, especially with the pass rush struggling a little bit. You're going to have to utilize your coverage scheme for the Buffalo Bills in this game. In my opinion, I think the Bills are going to win this game by a score of 24-14. I think it's going to be a great matchup. You're going to see a lot of different looks from the New York Jets. You'll also see a lot of different looks from the Buffalo Bills in terms of playing man-to-man versus zone. I think we're going to scheme it up a little bit more, and you'll see some plays where we run man-to-man and zone. So it'll be very interesting to see. Let's click over real quick. I want to get into some of the early window games that are going on today. Just give you a little highlight of what's happening in week 1 across the NFL. We'll start with the AFC East in the Patriots traveling to Miami. It's going to be a little bit hot down in Miami. They will be taking on Miami at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Some other games that you need to watch out for in the 1 o'clock window for the NFL are the Jaguars and Bengals. That's another game that I'm looking forward to seeing. Also, the Ravens at home against the Cleveland Browns. Could we see an upset there? Maybe Cleveland could keep that game close and make it interesting in terms of having an 0-2 Baltimore Ravens. That would be very interesting to see. Some other games in the 1 o'clock window, the Giants and Cowboys, the Steelers and Seahawks, Rams and Titans in a game that will be interesting. Cam Ward's second start in the NFL. The 49ers and Saints. And then you have the Bears and Lions. The 4 o'clock window features some great games too. The Broncos and Colts, Panthers and Cardinals, Eagles and Chiefs. That'll be a very interesting rematch of the Super Bowl last year. And then you have the late window tonight, Falcons and Vikings. So all interesting games today. I can't wait to see what's going to happen here. I have some updates on YouTube here and Facebook. John Robert coming into the chat saying, with Shaq Thompson being inactive, I understand Keontae Jenkins getting elevated. Absolutely. I was surprised Landon Jackson was inactive again. I think it's more about, for me, because I know that we talked about it on Nickel City Mafia and my group chat and everything. Why is Landon Jackson inactive? I think it's just because he doesn't have a lot of pass rushing moves. And that's what scares Buffalo right now. He's more of a developmental player, needing some time to really develop his pass rushing skills, which will be interesting to see later in the season when he does get called up, if he can make some big plays for the Buffalo Bills. We are about 2 minutes away from kickoff of the Buffalo Bills and New York Jets. We're going to turn it over to the actual broadcast team of Jim Nance, Tony Romo, and we can't wait to see you guys at halftime. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment on all these videos. You can find us on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, and we will see you at halftime as well as after the game for all post-game and halftime news on the Buffalo Bills. Can't wait to get a win here today. Hopefully we can do that. We'll see the best out of the Buffalo, and we'll see you guys at halftime. Stay loud, stay proud, and as always, go Bills.